Today we talk about RSI, the Relative Strength Index, a very well-known technical analysis indicator, and oh my god, does it give a clear signal for Bitcoin. So the first chart shows the RSI over the last 15 years. And why do we look at RSI? Because RSI is a measure of momentum, and momentum is a force, like a train at high speed that cannot be stopped. And we'd like to know when the momentum is about to switch.
Bitcoin's price is about to make a giant move. It could be to the downside, but I suspect it's going to be to the upside. And in this video, I'm going to explain why. So without further ado, I'm going to show this year's price for Bitcoin in terms of US dollars. This is year to date. This is from January 1st of 2023, all the way here to mid-November.
Now in this chart, we see the RSI on the y-axis, the date on the x-axis, and the months until the next halving on the color axis. We use monthly data, as you can see. It's 12 points every year, and it uses the 14-month period. The 14-month period is, well, a standard period for yearly or monthly data that we use. Maybe a 12-month period would be a better fitting. But if you look at quarters or weeks, a 13-month or 13-week period would be better. And if you look at days, maybe a 14-day period is like a 2-week period. So this 14 standard period is usable for weeks, days, and months. And well, I use it because it's the mostly used period. Now note that for Bitcoin, the RSI is not in the 30 to 70 range. It's in the, well, 40 to 90 range. And that means it's up all the time. It's most of the time it's above this 50 boundary, which means it's in an uptrend. And we know that if we look at the Bitcoin price chart, of course. It's one big uptrend from 2009 till now. What we also see in this chart is the 4 bull markets and the 4 bear markets. We see the bull market and the bear market of 2011. That was early days, so it had a bull market and a bear market in 1 year. I don't think we'll ever see that again. Then 2013 bull market, it was a double top bull market, and a 2014-15 bear market. Then the 2016 and 17 bull market, and 2018 bear market, and then most recently we had the 2020-21 bull market, and then a 2022 bear market. That's how it is. And right now we're stuck at a bit above 50. Market has not decided yet where to go. I will get back to that in a bit. Now notice also that the low RSIs correlate with green, which is just before the halving. And also the bull markets, the high RSI values, they correlate with red and orange, which is just after the halvings. And we can also see that the tops in the RSI are getting lower and the bottoms are getting lower as well. So what is that? I don't know for sure. It could be that the RSI is finally normalizing to this 30 to 70 range. That is a very slow process, though. It would take like, what is it, 5 points every cycle, and we're at 90 now. We have to go to 70. So let's say a 2 to 4 cycle period. So at least another 10 years, I would say. Or is it because this bull market in 2021 was a bit lower than normal and is maybe an outlier? And I think that might be the case, especially if we look at, for example, here, the start of the halving cycle was bad because it was COVID time at that time, March 2020, and it had a bad start. And then at the top, at the all-time high, we had this Chinese mining ban, which cut the RSI from 90 to almost 60, which is huge. And it certainly killed the all-time high and probably the bull market. So I think we were just, that was just bad luck. And we might have a normal bull market again in the future. What's also interesting is that you can see in this RSI chart why I thought that we would we would look at a 100K Bitcoin in 2021 despite COVID in 2020 and despite the mining ban. So why did I think we would still have a 100K Bitcoin back then? Because the uptrend was already forming again, and it looked very much like the double top of 2013, and I thought we might have that again. Well, obviously we did not, and I guess by December 21, we could have known that the bull market was done at a, well, we closed the year December at 46K, that level. We could have known it was done, with hindsight, of course. So what now? RSI seems stuck at 50 or a little above 50 for months now. Yeah, where do we go? And in fact, that's an easy thing. It's the question is, will and do we expect that the cycles, the bull bear cycles in Bitcoin continue, or is this time different? And let me tell you one thing that I learned from my 20 plus years experience as an institutional investor. This time is never different. History rhymes, and cycles will always be. It's like the tides of greed and fear, and the market psychology. Greed in the bull markets and fear in the bear markets. That's human psychology, and that will not change. Humans will not change. So, in my opinion, we will have another cycle, and another cycle, and another cycle. So the RSI tells us the bull market of 21 is done, the bear market of 22 is done, and we're now just before the halving, blue, and halvings are historically at 55 or even higher, here 65 and 70. And then, well, I guess we'll after that we'll go to the halving at 55, and then we'll see a red bull market again. That's what I think. So how would such a scenario look? I guess a bit like this could be realistic. It's a random scenario created with a random number generator, but with realistic parameters. So this is the last the last real Bitcoin price where we are right now, the RSI 51, and this is the scenario. This is the random scenario. So it looks pretty normal. It looks like all the other bull markets and bear markets. And it would mean that the RSI is going to rise from here towards the halving. Volatility, of course, it will not be a straight line. Then a bull market in 2024 with an RSI around 90, a little above, a little below, it doesn't matter. And then a bear market after that in 25, 26, and of course a bottom in green. That's sort of what it looks like. And in Bitcoin price, it would look like this. So we are here at the moment at this 30 level, stuck for months there. And in this scenario that I just showed in RSI, this is the price that belongs to that. So it would rise with volatility towards the halving around the stock to flow value of 60, and then the bull market really goes on, the second stage of the bull market with FOMO and greed. And then, well, in this scenario, it's a rather conservative bull market that bottoms out or flattens out just below the stock to flow value of 500,000. So this averages at 300,000.
I'm going to pull up a chart from a friend of mine entitled Wicked Smart Bitcoin, pseudonymous Bitcoin expert. And he shows Bitcoin going from 1 cent here in 2009, 2010 or so, all the way up to a theoretical $1 trillion Bitcoin. And he gets this from a hyperbolic model. Now, obviously, this is not a price prediction of $1 trillion Bitcoin at any specific timeline. Notice how here at the bottom right, the timeline stops in 2022. And then from there, there's no label because we simply don't know when this is going to occur. However, it is very likely that at some point in the future, fiat currencies will continue to degrade. And the exchange rate of Bitcoin in terms of political currency units will just break to the upside exponentially on a hyperbolic function. So let's look at past price history on this chart here. On the left, we have logarithmic scale, and on the right, we have linear scale. Notice how we have periods of rapid appreciation and then years of sideways action, and then more rapid periods of appreciation again and again, and years of sideways action. This happens again and again and again, especially on the linear scale. There was another one, the 2017, 2019, and 2021 bull markets. And now here we are. This is where we are today. Okay, this is, whoops, if I can back up a little bit. Okay, this is where we are today. Now, this model here is outdated by roughly 6 months. Again, you can see with Bitcoin here on the left on that linear scale, how it's roughly, let's see, probably about a year outdated. This was the very bottom of the market. Again, when people were still calling for 50, 60, 70% price crashes from where we were in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. Now, look at this curve here. What do you notice on the linear chart on the left? Okay, what you see is that if Bitcoin continues to follow this hyperbolic curve, that we should expect at some point in the next couple of years, there is going to be a period of rapid price appreciation. How high? I have no idea. Maybe $100,000 per Bitcoin, maybe $300,000 per Bitcoin, maybe $1 million per Bitcoin. Obviously, 100,000 is more likely than 400,000, 400 is more likely than 1 million, but eventually at some point, that's going to happen. And the longer at which it takes for us to get there, the farther out that curve is going to appreciate ahead of us, and therefore probably the more explosive that action is going to be.